Hey everyone, it's Corey from the OverLook, where we go over the books you may have overlooked. It's been a while since I've said that, and there's been a lot of changes. With that being said, I want to welcome back all the old friends, and I'm glad to anybody who's new that showed up over the last year or so. This will be part 1 of the final volume of the Superior Spider-Man saga. It's been a long time in the making, but we finally made it. And what better way to celebrate this momentous occasion with none other than the story of how Dr. Otto Octavius and Norman Osborn became rivals. Years ago, Otto Octavius received a letter inviting him to a manor in Europe, to a place which was surprisingly nicer than he had expected, considering the letter came from beyond the grave. Norman Osborn had been dead for years, but his reputation had lived on. In fact, it did more than live on. It grew. Otto is escorted by a seemingly friendly butler past the front gates, through the large Gothic doorway, and down the spacious corridor all the way to a study at the far corner of the manor, where Norman Osborn awaits him. Otto freezes mid-step and recoils. This amuses Norman. But before Osborn can say anything, Otto is already on the attack. At that moment, like the claws of a cornered cat, Otto's metallic tentacles jettison from his back, ripping his coat, and whip in different directions. Even now, if you were to ask Otto, he doesn't know why he started attacking. It's all a blur to him, really. All he knew for sure is that if Osborn had returned, so had the Green Goblin. The two had never mingled in the past, and Otto didn't want to start now. But the skirmish ends fairly quickly, with the help of the butler, no less, carrying a tray of nice refreshments for their dear guest. Otto tells Norman that he certainly can't blame the good doctor for reacting the way he did. If Otto had killed him, it would have been Norman's own fault. Norman smirks and tells Otto he wasn't the least bit worried. But there are more pressing matters. For this is the moment when everything changes. This, Norman declares, is the beginning of the end of Spider-Man. Of course, Otto is apprehensive at first. He's worked with others before, and it doesn't always go as smoothly as one would hope. Norman scoffs. He's well aware that Otto is referring to the Sinister Six. But this time, he sneers, Otto won't be working with a bunch of amateurs. He'll be working with Spider-Man's greatest enemy. Otto, for one, would say that notion is up for debate. However, surprisingly, the partnership went better than he had expected. He quickly got to work with the finest equipment money could buy. And Norman got to harness the greatest scientific mind of his generation, which, Otto suspected, is the real reason Norman wanted to team up. As bold as Norman was, jumping back into the thick of things after so many years away is not something you want to do alone. And together, they created some of the most remarkable creations. Not to mention, it began to be fun. It became clear that they were better off as a team, and that, with their combined expertise, they could actually squash the spider for good. One night, Otto and Norman sit silently in the study. Otto plays chess. Norman enjoys a drink. As he sips, he muses. I hate to tell you, Otto. I imagined a lot of things coming out of this partnership. The death of Spider-Man. Revolutionary weapons. But the one thing I definitely did not expect was a friendship. He gazes up at a picture of a woman above the fireplace. The only friend I ever had in my whole life was my wife, Emily. We were childhood sweethearts, you know. Then, a year after our son Harry was born, she fell ill and died. And with her went my one and only friend. Didn't it, Gobby? Unfazed by this, Otto mumbles, I'm sorry, Norman. Norman smiles back. Ah, hell, it's one more friend than you had. To this, Otto throws his head back and snorts with laughter. I was engaged once, actually. This causes Norman to spit out his drink. What? You old dog! What, was she blind? Her name was Mary Alice, and she was a co-worker at the research facility I was working at. But my mother didn't approve. She said I needed to take care of her and not some girl I hardly knew. I knew she was wrong, of course, that she had no right to suggest such a thing. But she was my mother, after all. And so I called off the engagement, sent the one friend I had made in the whole world away in tears. It broke my heart, really. And to add insult to injury, my mother then met a suitor of her own and left me in the dust. I nearly choked on the hypocrisy. Norman walks across the room, giving Otto his space. Is that what led you to this whole octopus look? In a way. Well, that's what we do, isn't it? Bury it all deep down and cover it up with a bunch of nonsense. Did you ever think of looking Mary Alice up? He asks earnestly. Maybe one day, Otto murmurs, when I've reached my goal of being the greatest scientist that ever lived. Norman stops. He then slowly turns around, raising an eyebrow. I beg your pardon? He says through gritted teeth. Your goal should be the destruction of Spider-Man. Otto, still unfazed, responds. They're one and the same, Norman. I just prefer to do it through science. Norman knocks over Otto's chessboard and the table with it to get the doctor's full attention. You'll do it the way I say! I haven't remained hidden for years to merely kill Spider-Man. I want to destroy him, to level him, to crush his very soul. Then, and only then, will it be worthy of the Goblin's return? And you should know that! He screams as he backhands Otto off his feet and across the room.